Business and administration is an industry in its own right. It's also an integral part of many other industries, as most workplaces have office-based employees. Work experience students may be given some simple tasks to do around the office under supervision. Depending on your workplace, structured workplace learning students may be given more complicated tasks as part of their training.
I'm Christine. I'm currently doing a work placement for the Department of Education. It ranges from answering telephones to booking meeting rooms and appointments for other staff members, doing the mail, filing, photocopying. First day I did have an induction. My supervisor took me around, showed me where my workstation was. Not only that, they pointed out where to find the first aid kit and who the fire warden is, but they also go around and show you things like where the toilets are and the tea room.
They also need to know the layout of the office and who they contact if there are any queries or concerns. And I guess across an office there's particular people with responsibility that they need to be introduced to.
When working in the office, it's important that you do things in the correct way so that you don't hurt yourself or you hurt others.
In terms of OH&S in any office, I suppose there's some important things that everybody needs to be aware of. People take a break from their exposure to a screen, that they ensure that they get up and move around. Continued use of a keyboard for prolonged periods of time may cause strain, may cause injuries in wrists, and we have consultants who can come into the office and talk about posture. They'll do an audit of people's posture in the workplace and give you tips about how to manage that or what to change.
Tripping and slipping hazards would be standing on swivel chairs, loose pieces of paper on the floor.
We need to make sure there's proper step ladders, or that where things are too high up, we use the appropriate services to make sure we put them up there or get them down. We have a lot of files, materials, books and folders particularly that we need to store. It's important to consider where those things might go rather than just shoving them on top of a cabinet or on top of a bookshelf.
To avoid hurting yourself whilst manual handling, you make sure that you correctly bend to pick things up off the floor.
It's about what the weight is, whether you consider that you can move it easily yourself, the distance it needs to travel perhaps, and how you might take that load from one place to another. You have appropriate trolleys or call appropriate people to do that kind of heavy lifting if necessary.
If you go to lift an item that's too heavy for you, don't hesitate to ask somebody to help you lift that. So we do a lot of filing in the office, and we just have to make sure that we don't open up more than one drawer at a time, because the filing cabinet can become unstable and fall over. It's important to keep walkways clear in case there's an emergency. You need to make sure that you've got a clear path to be able to walk through so that you don't trip.
People have access in and out of the office so that should they need to leave quickly they can, and also to ensure that they don't trip over anything. Obviously that's a hazard. But we might be plugging in projectors and laptops and other things that require electrical cords. Sometimes we need to ensure that they're not draped across the whole office and that we have a localised area where we're working with electrical cords, and that perhaps they're taped down if they're going to be there for a period of time to ensure that it's safe.
There are hazardous chemicals in the office, and they are printer toners and cleaning chemicals. Every chemical has an MSDS, which contains all the information I would need to know about that chemical.
There's a whole range of issues around use of photocopiers and toner cartridges and the kind of hazardous chemicals that might be associated with that. They're all sealed, and there's a documented process for using those kinds of materials.
If you don't know how to do something, then simply just ask someone around you how to do it.
To finish, let's go over some of the common hazards of an office environment. They include electricity, manual handling, eye strain and fatigue, unbalanced filing cabinets, hazardous chemicals, and slips, trips and falls. If you would like more information about safety in business and administration, talk to your teacher or your employer.